All right, good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Digital Devotionals. It is April 17th, Friday, 7:30 a.m. Andy King here. Great to be here with you for what feels like the 9,000th day of quarantine. We're in week 5. We're wrapping up. This will be my final devotional for the week as we take a little break for the weekend. But great to be here with you. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, thrilled to have you here. And we're going to be in the book of Second Peter today. And I hope that you walk away encouraged with a very practical devotional this morning. Before we get going on it, I always like to give people a minute or two. I always like to brag a little bit on either some people or things that are going on, like to celebrate. If you know me at all, celebration is one of the things that Amy and I, we love. We love a good party. We love to have a good time. We love to laugh. And so one of my dearest friends, his name is Kyle Dixon, lives in Orlando, Florida, just a dear friend. He and his wife, Anna, are some of the most amazing and precious people you will ever meet. Well, he sent me a mug, and we've got mugs beginning to trickle into our mailbox. This particular mug is the thing of legend. There's Kyle right now. Good morning, sir, is what he says. Here's my brand new mug. Check this thing out. If you know the video game Zelda, right? It was like my first video game as a kid that was born in the 80s. I loved it. Kyle and I have laughed, played the games. We have it for like the Switch and Super Nintendo back in the day, regular Nintendo. Anyhow, he sends me this mug. I don't even know how to drink out of it yet. That is a shield from the game. It's awesome. This is definitely top 3 mugs right here. So, good morning, Kyle. Great to have you here. And thank you for believing in digital devotionals enough to track down a Legend of Zelda coffee mug. This thing is the thing of legend, and I'm thrilled to drink out of it. You want to know a little fun story about Kyle Dixon before we jump into the book of Second Peter? Is when Kyle and I, we had a small group, life group together in Orlando, Florida. And one of the things about Florida weather is that everybody wears flip-flops. I mean, everybody wears flip-flops. It's so hot all the time, except for Kyle. Kyle refused to wear flip-flops. And when asked about his flip-flop game, his response, which tells you so much about this great man, is you never know when you're going to need to run. So Kyle doesn't wear flip-flops. Kyle is a man of action. He is a man with a plan. And that plan includes being ready for when he may have to run, which he can't do in flip-flops. So he's not going to do it. Not going to wear them. Okay, guys, good times. Happy Friday to you. Hope you're having a great morning. I know the world we live in is shifting. It is uncertain. And that can leave us feeling anxious. You may be feeling fantastic in your house. You may be feeling in knots in your house. And you know what? That feeling can change from day to day and literally from hour to hour. I have had days where I just haven't been doing great. And by not doing great, I don't mean that I'm worried that the coronavirus is somehow going to infect my family, but just kind of grieving the world, missing being able to go out. Also just feeling cooped up, stressed, the stress of being in the same place for weeks on end. It can catch up to you. There's spiritual implications. There's physical, like literally physical implications as well, of just your body not getting out, getting around. And then there's also just the weight of everything that's happening right now, it can feel like a lot. So I want you to know, we're praying for you. I'm praying for you. And my hope is today to give you a couple little tools to help you continue growing, even in the midst of sheltering in place and quarantine. And regardless of what your take on politics is, whether you love what you're hearing, whether you despise what you're hearing, it doesn't change the fact that Jesus is King, that He is Lord. And if you're watching and you've put your faith in Christ, this is still a moment for you to continue growing in faith with Him and pressing in and becoming more like Him in all that you do. So here we are in the book of 2 Peter. We finished, actually, if you didn't know, we kind of moved through the book of 1 Peter this past week. And I just pulled a little piece out of each chapter. It's by no means a line-by-line devotional, but I'm just highlighting certain things. And so here we are in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 3. This is what Peter says as he's writing to a largely Gentile audience. He says that God's divine power has given us everything required for life and godliness through the knowledge of Him who called us by His own glory and goodness. He's given us everything you need. Moving on down, well, I'll read verse 4. By these He has given us very great and precious promises, so that through them you may share in the divine nature, escaping the corruption that is in this world because of evil desire. For this very reason, I love this, make every effort to supplement your faith with goodness, goodness with knowledge, knowledge with self-control, self-control with endurance, endurance with godliness, godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love. For if you possess these qualities in increasing measure, they will keep you from being useless or unfruitful in the knowledge of Jesus. Now, can we just acknowledge something here? This may sting, but you can be a Christian if we kind of invert that last verse, verse 8. You can be a Christian and not be very useful in the kingdom, in His kingdom. It's tough to hear. You can be a Christian and not be very fruitful as a Christian. And what I want to just encourage you with today is to be the kind of follower of Christ that's useful. Excuse me, I think I'm using the word not useful. It will keep you from being useless. You can have limited use, maybe is a better way to say it. In God's kingdom, you can have limited use because you're not fruitful, you're not effective with what God's given you. So here's what I want to just remind you of today. Much like Legos, which my friend Kyle also likes Legos, I do too. My son and I are working on a giant Lego, construction in the room next door, and it's literally just piece by piece. You've got directions, and you're just building one on the other. I find it very therapeutic, to be really honest. It's just one piece putting on another piece, and another piece on top of another piece. And there's a method to it. There's a process to it. And in your own growth, God has given you everything that you need to grow. He's given you everything you need, the Bible says, for life and godliness. So what does that look like? Well, because He's given you that, the things that you want to begin pressing in on and growing on are goodness, and adding to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control. You can read the list, but it's literally almost like a little blueprint. Where you begin to assess where you need to grow. So my question to you today, even though you're in the midst of lockdown, even though you may not be able to get out much, where do you need to grow? What do you need to add to your spiritual diet? Stop putting it off, stop ignoring it, and do something about it so that you will prevent yourself from becoming, as the Bible says, useless or unfruitful in the knowledge of Jesus. Where do you need to grow? Have an honest assessment of yourself today. And if you take notes or if you're writing, one of the things that I like to do to remove all emotion from things, I do like a 1 to 10 scale. Maybe this is my finance degree coming out, but my pastor in Orlando taught me this. But sometimes, when you're trying to assess where you are, one of the best things you can do is to remove emotion from it. And that you can do that by literally just giving yourself a number scale. So in regards to patience, where are you 1 to 10? Okay, I'm a 6. All right, so now that you're assessing where you are spiritually speaking, you can say to yourself, okay, I'm a 6. How do I get from a 6 to a 7? Is there a book that I can read? Is there a letter in the Bible that I need to read? Do I need to grow in prayer? Is my prayer life just suffering? Where am I on 1 to 10 prayer life? Okay, I'm a 3. All right, well, 3 is worse than a 6. Maybe you need to double down and grow in prayer, right? There are so many resources available to you. There are so many great pastors and preachers. And don't neglect your church, and don't neglect your pastor and the person that's pouring into your life. But that doesn't mean you can't supplement and grow specifically in different areas because that's what God's put his finger on. So assess where you are. Self-control, 1 to 10. Where's your endurance and resilience? A 1 to 10. And you begin to kind of just scale it. Think through it. Okay, God, where am I? And then grow from there. And if you need specific resources, you're welcome to message me here. I'd be happy to point you in some directions. But whether it's goodness, knowledge, okay, maybe you just don't know a whole lot right now. It's okay. Well, let's do something about it. Let's grow. There are a couple books that I'm reading right now, right? One is literally on the human brain and trying to understand how people make decisions. Because one of the things as a pastor that I'm constantly helping people with is making decisions. And I would be foolish not to realize that there is a spiritual aspect to that, but there's also a physical aspect to it. What's happening in your brain? I want to understand this body that God has made for us. What are the implications of that spiritually as well? And so trying to become a better pastor, a better leader, and you are in the same boat. How do you grow in different areas? Do something about it. Don't put it off. Don't put it off. Take responsibility and grow. If you want to grow, you will. I'll say that one more time and then we're done. If you want to grow, you will. This rings true historically, but in my lifetime as a pastor, what I know to be true is this. People who are hungry for growth will find a way. People who aren't always find a reason for why they're not. And there's always a finger pointing for why they're not and why they can't. You can. And if you're hungry for it, you will. Take that Lego principle and just start adding piece by piece by piece. You can do it. God's faithful. He's given you everything you need for life and godliness. All right, ladies and gents, that's the digital devotional for today. We will see you Monday. Happy Friday to you. Enjoy some coffee. Stay safe out there. Love the people that you're with. And I will see you Monday right here, 7:30. Much love.